Do you guys remember Percy Jackson? Well, considering the fact that you clicked on this video, I'm assuming you do. Also, hi, welcome. For those of you who don't remember, Percy Jackson, or more specifically, the Percy Jackson the Olympian series, is a book series created by Rick Riordan. The first book in the series, titled The Lightning Thief, was the start of something amazing. The start of something life-changing. Well, at least for me, anyway. This series quite literally changed my personality in middle school and helped form the person who I am today. But is that change warranted? Are these books really as good as we remember? In this series, we'll be answering that question. So join me as we go over the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. Welcome to the Percy Jackson Retrospective. In today's episode, we're going to go over the first 3 chapters in the first book, titled The Lightning Thief. And I know, I hear you. Only 3 chapters? Listen, I want to go in depth into every chapter, and I also don't want these videos to be that long. For your sake and for mine. So anyways, let's get started with chapter 1. Chapter 1. But before we get started, I would like to introduce you to my friend, Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson is your typical 12-year-old troubled kid who goes to your typical troubled school. You know, who also happens to be dyslexic, ADHD, and a demigod. So, you know, maybe he wasn't dealt the best hand. We start off the chapter with a warning from Percy himself. And I'm gonna reenact that warning for you. For those of you who hold these pages in your hands, if you find yourself relating a bit too much to my story, close the book immediately. If you find out you're one of us, run. Run as far as you can. Believe whatever lie your parents tell you. And try your best to live a normal life. Because the second you find out who you are, they'll know. And they'll come for you. But for those of you who can relate, hi, welcome. I hope you enjoy the ride. I'm glad that you find this an entertaining story. We start off the story with Mr. Brunner, Percy's history teacher, who also happens to be Percy's favorite teacher, telling the class about an upcoming museum field trip. You may be thinking, oh, well, what's wrong with the field trips to the museum? You see, Percy and field trips don't mix. Every time Percy goes on a field trip, he ends up getting expelled. Either it be because he accidentally blew up the bus, or because he accidentally dunked his whole class into an aquarium. You know, the list continues. Point is, every time Percy goes on a field trip, something goes wrong. And this time, it's not an exception. However, he is still determined to make sure this field trip does not go wrong. Right off the bat, on the bus ride to the museum, we deal with Nancy Bobafit, the class as she assaults Grover, Percy's best friend, with some lunch food. He wishes to do something, but unfortunately our boy is on probation. So if he so much as looks at Nancy with a Nancy attitude, he risks the chance of getting suspended. Once inside the museum, nothing goes particularly wrong, just Nancy continues to be an annoying bitch. But again, Percy can't do anything, especially not now. Now that the second chaperone, named Mrs. Dodds, is keeping an even closer eye on him. Who's Mrs. Dodds? I don't know, probably some just irrelevant math teacher. Once they're done with the museum, they head on outside to eat their lunch. But as they're eating their lunch, something happens. But before I tell you what happens, I want to recreate this little scene between Grover and Percy I thought was kind of funny. So, enjoy. Hey Percy, I saw that Mr. Brunner took you aside to talk to you. What'd he tell you? Nothing much, he just really wants me to try in class, you know? He feels like I'm not really trying my best and I don't remember things. But I am trying my best. And it's not really easy on me, you know? I just think I'm not smart. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to say to me? Yeah, are you gonna eat your apple? I think it's kind of funny because Grover doesn't care about what Mr. Brunner said. He just wants that apple. Anyways, as both Percy and Grover eat their lunch, they decide to sit down on the edge of the water fountain. And of course, Nancy comes over to continue to harass Grover. She's obsessed with Grover, I swear to God. But this time, Percy's had enough. Nancy gets her ass thrown into that water fountain. Except, it wasn't by Percy. You see, Percy did not touch her, no matter what Nancy may have you believe. Instead, the water kind of sort of came up and grabbed her and pulled her in. You may be thinking, how is that possible? Stay tuned. Also, I wrote down, girlie's so annoying, even the elements don't like her. Maybe that's not that funny. Unfortunately though, Mrs. Dodds did see this and she hears that Nancy is blaming Percy, so she decides to take Percy back into the museum to scold him. Except it's not a scolding that she wanted to give him. Percy notes that as they walk into the museum, she's moving oddly fast and making weird noises that are not human. Turns out Percy was right on the money. Once they're both alone in a room, that sounds gross. Once they're both left alone in an exhibit room, Mrs. Dodds reveals her true form, that of a harpy with big wings and sharp talons. She lunges at Percy, but thankfully, Mr. Brunner shows up right on time. He tosses Percy a pen. For those of you who are new to this series, you may be thinking, what the f*** is he gonna do with the pen? Turns out this pen is actually a very special kind of pen. A pen that, when uncapped, turns into a sword. Percy uses this to his advantage, and he strikes Mrs. Dodds, turning into a big pile of golden dust. And with the blink of an eye, everything goes back to normal. The dust gets blown away, and Percy turns around to take a look at Mr. Brunner, who just vanished. The sword switches back to a pen, and Mrs. Dodds is no more. No, literally, he heads back outside with Mr. Brunner, and he asks what just happened. And he asks where's Mrs. Dodds. And literally, he hits him with the who? Who that? So yeah, literally no one, not Mr. Brunner, not Grover, not Nancy, no one else in the class remembers Mrs. Dodds. So she really is as irrelevant as I said she was. Chapter 2. So no one really remembers Mrs. Dodds, except for Grover. But he doesn't want to admit it yet. Anyway, back to the school. It's the end of the semester now. Percy has been under a lot of stress. But unfortunately, Yancey Academy, which is where Percy goes, has made the decision to let him go and not welcome him back the following semester. Although he's not thrilled with the fact that he's being let go, he still decides to try his best in his Latin class. You know, the one taught by Mr. Brunner. I don't think he gives a f*** about the other classes though. One night, as he tries fiercely to study, he just realizes that nothing is sticking and he maybe could benefit from an extra help from Mr. Brunner. So he decides to go to Mr. Brunner's office. However, as he's about to open the door, he hears that Mr. Brunner is talking with Grover. Basically, what we get from this conversation between Grover and Mr. Brunner is that Grover is scared of Percy's safety. He feels like it's time for Percy to know the truth, especially now that he's seen Mrs. Dodds, and now that they know that he exists. What the truth is and who they are will be made apparent in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just kidding. So final exam day hits, and after Percy takes his Latin exam, Mr. Brunner decides to have a conversation with him. Percy, could I speak to you for a moment? I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of my class. But I think we both know it was inevitable that you would be thrown out of Yancey Academy. What? What do you mean inevitable? I mean, you know what I mean, don't you? Like, you were never meant for this. Why? Is it because you think I'm stupid? No, I don't think you're stupid. I think you're... How do I put this? I think you're special. Oh, great, because that makes it sound a lot better. We get this thrown around a lot, that Percy is special. But no one really tells him what they mean by that. They just say you're special. But saying that someone's special could have different implications. After his exams are wrapped up, Percy goes back to his dorm room, packs everything up, and gets on the next bus to New York City, so he can head over to his mom's apartment. Percy doesn't feel like saying goodbye to anyone except for Grover, which he does dread. Grover is one of the few friends he's made in his whole lifetime, so he doesn't really want to let him go, especially since Grover gets picked on a lot. He doesn't know how he's going to survive next semester without him. But luckily, Grover ends up taking the exact same bus ride to New York City, so no goodbyes yet. Yay! During the bus ride to the city, Percy does confess to Grover that he overheard his conversation with Mr. Brunner, and he's looking for answers. Unfortunately though, Grover continues to lie to Percy, and he says it's for his own safety. The only thing he gets out of this conversation is that Grover is meant to be Percy's protector, and Grover gives Percy a little business card, just in case he needs to reach out to Grover over the over the summer break, sorry. Percy thinks this is funny because, like I said, Percy sees Grover as like a scrawny person, as like a scrawny kid who can't defend himself, and who clearly didn't defend himself against Nancy. So he really finds it interesting that he would think that he's his protector. As they're talking on the bus suddenly decides to break down. Not suspicious at all. All the passengers on the bus are asked to get off as the driver fixes everything. But as they get off, Percy sees that on the other side of the highway, there's a fruit stand with delicious apples and oranges and the likes. But at the end of the fruit stand, there's 3 old ladies. Like, I mean very old ladies. Knitting a big sock. Like, it's a big sock. Percy wonders who it's for, because who could wear that sock? Like, again, not suspicious at all. Percy notices that they start staring at him a little too intently. Grover notices as well, and this is when Grover immediately takes Percy back into the bus. But before they could get back into the bus, Percy sees that one of the old ladies pulls out a long piece of string and snips it. A snip so loud and so piercing that he could hear it even from the other side of the highway. Oh my god, Percy, was she looking at you? Yeah, I think so. Weird, right? And you know what else she did? She like pulled out a long piece of string and then cut it. She did what? Yeah, weird. No, she looked me dead in the eye, pulled the string out of God knows where, and just snip. Oh my god, you're You may be wondering, what's so important about this string anyway? Turns out these weren't just three random old ladies. These three old ladies are what the Greeks call the Fates. And typically, whenever they look someone dead in the eye, especially a young hero like Percy, and then they snip a piece of yarn, that means that his life will end very soon. Chapter 3. Even though Percy promised Grover to let him accompany him to his house after the bus ride, Percy ditches his ass. Yeah, no, Percy is just really weirded out by how like suspicious Grover has been recently, and he just at this point really just wants nothing to do with it. So he ends up taking a taxi home alone. During that taxi ride, Percy tells us about his mother, Sally Jackson, who was a wonderful, beautiful, caring woman who was robbed of a childhood. Her parents died when she was really young, leaving her in the custody of her uncle, who didn't really care much about her. When Sally was in high school, her uncle got cancer, so she had to drop out and stop everything to help him out. The only thing good in her life was her relationship with Percy's father, who remains unnamed, and of course Percy himself. Now Sally's married to this asshole named Gabe, who Percy calls Smelly Gabe. Why? We don't know. But honestly, his stink is so bad you would think he's covering up something. Yeah, once Percy gets home, he has a brief interaction with the stepfather. Yeah, he's a literally forcing Percy to give him whatever change he has left from the cab fare so he could continue to use it in his gambling game. A little bit later, Percy's mom gets home and she is excited and relieved to see her son finally back home. Percy tells her about his experience at Yanzi, everything except for the three old ladies and Mrs. Dodds. I wonder why he kept that out. She could tell though that he's holding back something, but she doesn't pry. Instead, she tells Percy that she was able to rake up a bit of extra money throughout her shifts so she could take him on a mini vacation to the beach. She rents out a little cabin near the beach, which is the same cabin that Percy would go to as a kid. When they get there, they do a little bit of cleaning, they walk along the shore of the beach, they eat blue food. You may be wondering, blue food? Why blue food? You see, once Sally and Gabe had an argument about blue food. Gabe was very adamant that blue food does not exist. So every waking moment, Sally makes sure to prove him wrong by buying a shit ton of blue food, that they'd be like blueberries, blue cupcakes, anything that you could possibly dye with food coloring, she will, and she will make it blue. Later on, they start a little bonfire and they roast some marshmallows. As they're roasting marshmallows, Percy's mom decides to tell him about his father. Turns out Sally met Percy's father on that same beach. They spent only one summer together in that cabin before he had to go back on some voyage, and he never returned. She makes an adamant point though. She doesn't say that he died. She only says that he's lost at sea. Very important thing to note. After that, Sally changes the topic onto schools, but Percy doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to go away to another boarding school. He just wants to stay with his mom. He just thinks that his mom doesn't want him around. Whatever first chance she gets, she'll send him off to whatever boarding school so she doesn't have to deal with him. And of course, this can't be further from the truth. Sally tells him that she sends him away for his own safety. And by even sending him away to nearby schools, she is being selfish and possibly putting them in more danger. She's been avoiding sending Percy to a specific summer camp that his father specifically said was made just for him. But she knows that there's a chance if he goes to that summer camp, he never comes back. So, by sending him off to a different school, she's been selfish by not only putting Percy in more danger, but also making sure he always comes back to her. She admits that it's time to end her selfishness and it's probably time for him to go to the summer camp. She doesn't really go in depth as to what this summer camp is and why he can't come back after the summer's over. She just looks like she's about to start crying, so Percy doesn't pry. After that conversation, they both go back into the cabin and they try to get some sleep. As he's sleeping though, Percy has a very vivid dream about a white stallion and a golden eagle fighting each other. He tries to stop it, but he's powerless to do so, and as the golden eagle is about to kill the horse, Percy wakes up with a start. He wakes up to a roaring storm, and moments later, to a knock at the door. Hey, turns out it's Grover. Apparently he's been looking for them the second Percy ditched him. However, Grover looks a lot more scared than he did before. He looks at Sally and talks to her as if they knew each other, and tells her that they're out of time. They know he's here and they're coming for him. Now's the time to take him to camp. Sally obviously bricks, finally turns to Percy and she forces him to tell her those things that he was holding back. So Percy tells her about the 3 old ladies cutting the string, and she tells her about Mrs. Dodds and the way she turned into a harpy and attacked him and then just disappeared after being struck by the sword. After hearing everything, Sally decides it's time. She asks both Percy and Grover to get into the car, and she starts heading off to camp. Camp Half-Blood. However, before they get in the car, Percy notices something weird about Grover. You see, Grover's never been the best at walking. He's always limped everywhere. Says it's some genetic defect. But now, Percy saw something. In the darkness, he could see that Grover's bottom did not look human at all. Finally, with a bit more light, he noticed that Grover's top half was human, but his bottom half was goat. We'll talk about this more in the next episode. So yeah, final thoughts. So far it's pretty good. It's about as good as I remember. Not too much lore drop happens yet. Like, we don't even find out the name of the camp. I just wanted to throw that in there just for extra suspense. But yeah, this is only the beginning. It's about to get a lot more fun and dangerous from here on out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. This has been Bran. Please do me a huge favor and like, subscribe, and maybe share with a friend who also likes Percy Jackson. It really helps me out a lot by making the channel grow. In the next episode, we're going to most likely cover chapters 4 through 6. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.